Samson is quietly becoming one of those games that people are going to look back on and ask how it flew under the radar for so long, because with the latest batch of details, updates, and hands-on impressions, it's now very clear that this is not a small experimental project, and it's definitely not a throwaway indie action game. What Liquid Swords is building here looks closer to a focused, mid-budget single-player action title from a past era of gaming, the kind we barely get anymore, and the more we learn, the more surprising it becomes. I'm also kind of wondering why it's still under most people's radar, because its reveal trailer was perfect. One of the most important new revelations is just how much work has gone into the core combat and the vehicle action, and not in a superficial way. Combat is absolutely brutal, and vehicle exploration and combat is inspired by Mad Max. The developers have gone back and reworked the animations frame by frame, using principles taken straight from film and animation. They've deliberately adjusted anticipation frames before punches land, tightened impact frames, and exaggerated follow-through to make every hit feel sharper and heavier. That attention to timing is why the combat now looks far more violent, deliberate, and satisfying than it did in earlier footage. This is the kind of detail that most games don't bother with anymore, and it shows a clear obsession with feel over flash. Combat itself is built around physical interaction and improvisation, not canned animations. You're not limited to predefined weapons. Almost anything in the environment can be used. Bricks, pipes, broken pieces of walls, improvised tools. If it makes sense in the space, you can use it. That feeds directly into one of the other big areas they're expanding: destructible props and environments. Each level has its own theme and set of breakable objects, and the team is actively increasing the variety so encounters don't blur together. On top of that, environmental finishers are being added in the same spirit as games like Sleeping Dogs, letting the world itself become part of the combat rather than just a backdrop. Around all of that, Samson's driving and vehicle combat are being developed into something that isn't just decorative but integral to both gameplay and narrative pressure. According to the latest Steam announcements, cars in Samson aren't set dressing. They're blunt instruments with real weight, momentum, and purpose built right into the systems. Ramming through industrial wastelands, engaging in close quarters destruction during high-speed chases, and using mass and inertia against enemies are all part of how the game plays. You're encouraged to drift, smash, trap, or outthink whoever chases you, and it turns every chase into its own moment of tension and tactical choice rather than just background noise. Vehicles are also tied into Samson's progression. As you improve and unlock upgrades, both your combat and driving capabilities grow together, reinforcing how central this dual-style action is to the game's identity. Samson takes cues from Sleeping Dogs for its brutal close-quarters combat, Sifu for its rhythm and flow, and The Raid for its raw, claustrophobic atmosphere, but instead of copying those games, it pulls specific elements from each and builds something more grounded and reactive. The combat isn't about flashy combos or score chasing, it's about pressure, positioning, and survival. The developers have been very clear that they keep revisiting basic punches, kicks, hit reactions, and now vehicle impacts because those are the moments players will remember. Another major new detail is the scope of the game's locations, which is much larger and more varied than people expected. We now know the game includes places like apartment hallways and mansions, each with its own layout, combat rhythm, and environmental interactions. These aren't random backdrops, they're spaces designed so that every fight feels unique and every tactical choice matters. That reinforces that Samson isn't one repeated arena stretched across hours of gameplay, it's a mission-driven experience with distinct spaces designed to feel tense, dangerous, and handcrafted. Narratively, Samson leans heavily into consequence. The story revolves around death, not as a theme, but as a mechanic that constantly applies pressure. You're not just completing missions for progression, you're trying to survive a system that keeps tightening around you. Death increases every day with interest. Each morning brings a new quota you have to meet, and your limited pool of action points forces you to choose carefully what risks to take. Decisions stack, mistakes linger, there's no sense that the world resets itself for your convenience. That sense of permanence is rare, especially in action games, and it gives everything you do a bit more weight than usual. One detail that genuinely stands out and deserves more attention is the price point. Samson is launching at around $24.99, and for what's being offered, that's almost unheard of today. We're talking about a full single-player game with roughly 10 hours of main story content, expendable to around 25 hours if you engage with side missions, optional content, and different approaches to encounters. No microtransactions, no we'll finish it later roadmap. You buy the game and that's the experience. In an industry where far smaller games launch at $40 or $70 and still ask for more money afterward, this pricing feels almost confrontational. In a good way, it's designed to be an honest transaction between developer and player, which is something a lot of studios have forgotten how to do. What also separates Samson from a lot of other upcoming games is how closely the developers are listening. Feedback isn't just acknowledged, it's actively shaping mechanics. Systems that feel off get revisited immediately, animations get reworked instead of ignored. Environmental interactions are expanded because players asked for more variety. That constant iteration is why the game now feels significantly more ambitious than it originally appeared. It's not growing through marketing promises, it's growing through actual changes to how it plays. And that ambition is important when you consider who's making it. This is a team with deep experience in large-scale action games, choosing to focus that knowledge into something tighter, more deliberate, and more personal. Instead of chasing massive open worlds or endless checklists, Samson aims to deliver intensity, density, and replayable systems. It's a reminder that ambition doesn't always mean bigger maps. Sometimes it means sharper design built around player choice, consequence, and responsiveness. Taken together, these latest details paint a clearer picture than ever before. Samson is shaping up to be a complete, confident single-player action game with weight, consequence, and tangible progression, all for a price that feels like a genuine offer rather than a bait and switch. With driving combat as meaningful as hand-to-hand combat, environment-based improvisation, and a pressure-driven narrative that forces real decisions, this title has the potential to resonate in a way most games this size simply don't. Vehicles in particular look like a pillar that could grow significantly over time. Right now they're tightly integrated into moment-to-moment gameplay, but there's clear room for expanded vehicle types, new handling profiles, and more complex chase scenarios that push both player skill and situational awareness. The way driving already blends destruction, positioning, and momentum suggests future missions could lean even harder into hybrid combat, part brawler, part vehicular survival. There's also a strong sense that Samson is being built with replayability through systems, not repetition, because death, time pressure, and action points constantly reshape how you approach objectives. The same mission can play out very differently depending on your choices. Like the video for more on this game in the very near future.